ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टितं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं गुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथं मितं तां सजीवं साहदितं साहदूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललितां श्रीविशाखावितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. Welcome to this discussion on Bhagavad Gita as it is. Right now we are discussing chapter number 6. The title of the chapter is Dhyana Yoga. In the last class, we were discussing shloka number 17, which is falling in the zone of realization of Paramatma. In this shloka 6.17, which let us look at the shloka. युक्त आहार विहारस्य युक्त चेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्त स्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing yoga system. So, yukta ahara is food, vihara is recreation, yukta chestasya karmashu, anything that we do, but it is regulated. Yukta swapna bodhasya, this is more on sleeping. When we do that, we are mitigated from material pains. And this is nothing but yoga practice. This is yoga practice. Now, in in this in this it is in this shloka, it is important for us to understand that there are 5 states of mind, and we were discussing the top 2 states, which is nirodha and ekagrita. And this nirodha and ekagrita are nothing but samadhi. And this samadhi is, this ekagrita samadhi is once again divided into 2 types, sampragnata and asampragnata. And then we have savitarka and savichara. These are technical terms. These are all technical terms, but we need to understand how is it going to help us in bhakti. We have good examples of 6 Goswami. We hear of 6 Goswamis of Vrindavana who, while absorbed in the service, would enter into deep samadhi and perceive the eternal pastimes of Radha and Krishna in the spiritual world. This is the true meaning of samadhi. It is not activity, it is not stopping of activity at the material level, but it is higher engagement. The external body may still appear in the material world, but internally the devotee sees and participate in the spiritual divine Leela. And in relation with Rupa Goswami in Vrindavana, there is a very interesting anecdote. One day, Srila Rupa Goswami was absorbed in devotional meditation. In his trance, he observed a pastime, sweet pastime, in the forest of Vrindavana. Srimati Radharani noticed a beautiful flower high on a tree. She could not reach the flower, And Krishna offered help to her. He came from behind and gently lifted Radharani up. She stretched and caught hold of the branch to pluck the flower. At that very moment, Krishna playfully let go of her. The branch was weak. Radharani became frightened and she started crying. Seeing her fear, Krishna laughed mischievously. Witnessing this exchange within his meditation, Rupa Goswami also began to laugh. At the time, a Vaishnava was passing by. He was lame and walked with great difficulty. Hearing Srila Rupa Goswami laugh, he mistakenly thought that the laughter was directed at him. He felt hurt. The moment this offense arose, Srila Rupa Goswami's trance broke. He could no longer enter into the same spiritual vision. He reflected deeply and concluded that he must have unknowingly offended a devotee. He then approached Sanatan Goswami for guidance. Sanatan Goswami advised him to invite all the Vaishnavas for a feast. Whoever does not attend, he said, that person is offended. Go to him and seek his forgiveness. Therefore, during the feast, one Vaishnava did not come, and Rupa Goswami personally went to him and humbly begged his pardon. This is Vaishnava etiquette. So the Vaishnava then revealed that he felt mocked. Rupa Goswami explained the true reason for his laughter, and this misunderstanding was clear. This pastime teaches two truths. Samadhi means enter into spiritual reality. And second, even a subtle offense to devotee can block our vision of spiritual world. Thus, there is a perception of higher reality. It is not just yoga chitta vritti nirodha. It is not just stopping. I'm just sharing my screen. It is not just stopping at the level of zero. It is going beyond the levels of disconnection from physical, mental reality, and it is stimulation, activation of perception of spiritual reality. The samadhi experienced by devotees is the much higher than just perception. It is participation in spiritual reality. This means the devotee realizes that there is a role for him in the pastimes of Krishna. There is also a very well known anecdote about Raghunath Das Goswami. He is also one of the great renunciants of Vrindavana. His life, his life was marked by extreme austerity. He would hardly eat. At times, he survived only on a little buttermilk, and even that only once in 2 or 3 days. One day, however, the devotees serving him noticed signs of illness. His body appeared disturbed. Out of concern, they called the medical practitioner called Vaidya to examine him. After careful diagnosis, the physician concluded that the symptoms indicated indigestion caused by overeating. In reality, or Raghunath Das Goswami's lifestyle was that he would take buttermilk once in 2 or 3 days. However, this medical practitioner, reported that he is suffering from indigestion caused by overeating. Hearing this, the servants strongly objected. They felt that medical practitioner, this Vaidya, was committing an offense. How could such statement be made about Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, who, according to his servitors, was consuming, was barely eating anything? But the medical practitioner remained firm in his diagnosis. Physical symptoms were very clear. When they gently inquired from Raghunath Das Goswami, he himself confirmed that this medical practitioner's conclusion was correct. He explained that in his meditation, he had participated in a divine celebration in the spiritual realm. On that occasion, sweet kheer had been lovingly prepared and offered by Radha to Krishna. So Radharani prepared this sweet kheer, and offered to Krishna. After the offering, the remnants were distributed among Sakis and Manjaris. Absorbed in the spiritual service, uh, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami had partaken of the kheer repeatedly because it was so tasty, it was so exquisite. Though this occurred on spiritual plane, its effect manifested in his physical body. Thus, what appeared impossible to ordinary vision was perfectly consistent with his inner absorption. The incident illustrates that the depth of samadhi which Srila Raghunath Das Goswami was undergoing. His participation in eternal pastime was not imagination, it was for real and it was so intense that even the material body responded to it. In Nectar of Devotion, there is one specific anecdote of Manasa Puja, worship performed within mind. So, this story describes a poor Brahmana who had deep devotion for Krishna. He had no wealth, he had no ingredients. Outwardly, he could not offer anything grand, but inwardly, his devotion was very rich. He decided to serve Krishna mentally. Every day, he would sit by the bank of the sacred river and meditate. In his mind, he built a beautiful temple. He arranged golden utensils. He gathered fresh milk, sugar, and fragrant rice. With care and attention, he prepared sweet kheer for the Lord. His meditation was very detailed, it was deliberate, however, it was full of love for Krishna. On one occasion, after cooking the kheer in his contemplation, he wanted to ensure that it was neither hot nor too cold before offering it to Krishna. In this meditation, he touched the kheer with finger and to test the temperature. At that very moment, his finger got burnt. He cried out of pain. When he opened his eyes, he saw a blister on his hand. The mental offering had produced a physical effect. This incident teaches a subtle truth. Devotional absorption is not an imagination. When contemplation is pure and concentrated, the higher reality manifests even on the material level. For a devotee, samadhi is not just empty silence, it is active engagement. It is service performed with full awareness. It is participation in spiritual reality so that its influence descends into the physical world. Thus, for a devotee, the samadhi is not just perception, but it is active participation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu repeatedly found in his samadhi. His samadhi can be seen at three levels. One level is perception. He would be discussing with devotees on topics of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and suddenly he would run in one direction because he is seeing Lord Krishna in that direction. When he reaches there, Krishna would disappear, and so Lord Chaitanya would faint there. When devotees ask him what happened, he would say that he saw Krishna, but Krishna has disappeared. We could see that Lord Chaitanya was tricked by Lord Krishna. And there is one more instance that after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyasa at Katwa, he was going towards Vrindavan, but he was brought back to Advaita Acharya's place in Shantipur. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had many mystical visions. This is not an imagination. Krishna is present. The devotees just get the temporary, brief glimpse of Krishna. In the Antya Leela, 18th chapter, we see that a fisherman gets happy because he has caught a very giant fish. Then he realizes that it is not fish. Devotees are actually, on the other hand, frantically searching for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who has left his home and has not returned. The devotees then came across this fisherman who was acting like a madman. He was acting frantically, chanting the holy name of Krishna. He was asked what happened. He said that he is haunted by a ghost. Usually, when somebody is haunted like that, he would chant. He would not chant Narsimha mantra to drive away the ghost. But now this fellow who got haunted chants Narsim mantra, and so he was chanting Narsim mantra to drive away the ghost. But now the more he chants Narsimha mantra, he is getting. Um, Actually, it is not like this. When whenever he is attacked by ghost, he would chant Narsimha mantra, and the ghost will go away. But in this specific case, in spite of chanting Narsim mantra, the ghost is not going away, but he is chanting Narsim mantra more and more. Uh, Therefore, he is asking the devotee to exorcise this ghost. At that time, Swarup Damodar slaps this fisherman, and when he does that, the fisherman comes back to normal. Then he asks why he got haunted. Then he described about a big fish that he caught, upon touching which he became haunted. Swarup Damodara tells him that it is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But the fisherman tells him that he has seen Mahaprabhu before, and he is now looking completely different. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's limbs had changed completely. Thus, here we see that there is a perception and participation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in pastimes of Krishna. In that participation, his whole body shape was changed. Sometimes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will become Kurma. His limbs will be retracted inwards. In other instance, his limbs will become very big. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was already tall and majestic. When his joints got separated, when his arms became long, he took very gigantic shape, gigantic size. What was holding the joints together was just the skin. The devotees were frightened to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like that. The devotees would chant holy name, and Mahaprabhu will come back to normalcy immediately. These are like extraordinary pastimes. And we see that Bhakti Vinod Thakur talk about Sahaj Samadhis. Sahaj Samadhi means there is natural spiritual cognition by purification and elevation of our consciousness. Srila Prabhupada also at times while doing Kirtan came to such samadhi. In South America, when Srila Prabhupada went there, he saw Gaurnita already there, devotees chanting the holy names. At the time, when he saw that, he became overwhelmed. He got into ecstasy. There are few instances where he got into ecstasy. Most of the most of the time, Srila Prabhupada remained in normal consciousness uh, because he wanted to instruct us. Few instances, he got into ecstasy, but that was very normal. The summit, the point here, the summit of this type of consciousness is exhibited. The one which Srila Prabhupada exhibited when he saw Gaurnita deities, that was at one level, but what we see in Chaitanya Leela and in Gopis of Vrindavan, they are very exalted. These ecstasy, these ecstasies are described in 10th canto, chapter 46 and 47. And in chapter 47, let us sharing my screen. 46 and 47, these are titles like 46 is Uddhava visits Vrindavana, and chapter 47 is a song of P. In chapter 46, there is description of Uddhava visiting Vrindavan to give the message to gopis about Krishna. At that time, a bumblebee comes there, seeing that bumblebee, Srimati Radharani speaks to the bumblebee. She speaks her heart out. Uh, seeing the Radharani treats bumblebee as a messenger of Krishna. Instead of chastising Uddhava, who is a man, who is Kshatriya, and it is not appropriate to chastise Uddhava, therefore, whatever feeling are there for Krishna, Srimati Radharani speaks to this bumblebee. She speaks her heart out. This discussion is an elevated topic. Hmm? We can have a brief summary of this. First, Srimati Radharani chastises Bumblebee as an unreliable messenger of a unreliable master. However, Bumblebee tries to pacify her. Srimati Radharani does not agree with the Bumblebee. Then Bumblebee leaves that place. When Bumblebee leaves that place, Srimati Radharani becomes agonized that Bumblebee has left. So she feels bad, and she has accused Krishna as cheater. She has accused Krishna as a bad person. She accused Krishna as a liar. She feels sorry for these accusations of Krishna. She then thinks that this bumblebee is going to tell all this to Krishna, and thinks that Krishna will get angry at Srimati Radharani. However, Bumblebee appears again. Srimati Radharani now tells Bumblebee that Bumblebee is very good, it is merciful, um, uh, and she asks Bumblebee to go and tell Krishna that gopis, Radharani and gopis always love him. Whatever happens, uh, he has to come back. That is the point. When we see this as an outsider, we think that Srimati Radharani is a mad woman. But Uddhava understands this exalted absorption and obsession in Krishna that he is seeing in Srimati Radharani. He then prays to Krishna. He prays that his only desire is to become a shrub, a grass, just a part of wilderness of Vrindavana, so that when gopis walk there, their lotus feet will come on his head and he becomes blessed by the lotus feet. This is the extent of samadhi of a devotee, and which we will get by progressive advancement on path of bhakti, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us. This type of bhakti is viraha bhakti. This is the ultimate siddhanta. When the devotee is situated at this level, nothing higher can be given. Hmm. Now, there is an interesting shloka 6.22. Yam labdva chaparam labam manyate nadikam tata यस् यस्मिन् स्थितो न दुःखेन गुरुनापि विचाल्यते. What does that mean? Established, thus one never departs from truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. In general, the concept of religion means that we pray to God and God gives us everything we want. But this type of prayers is not found in any other tradition. Seeing their prayer and attitude, Krishna says that he is indebted to gopis. So this type of prayer is not seen anywhere else. Not the other prayer that is asking for everything to Krishna. That is seen in almost all the religions. But this type of prayer, that is the prayer of gopis to Krishna, that type of prayer you don't see anywhere. Seeing their prayer of gopis, Krishna says that he is indebted to gopis for their service, that he cannot give them anything. He is so much indebted. He says that even if he tries to repay for the entire life of Brahma, he cannot repay anything. This is the supreme level of love of gopis to Krishna, and this is the highest level of samadhi that we will get when we engage steadily in devotional service and come to perfection. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 32, text 22, the the chapter title is the reunion. न पारेऽहं निर्वद्य संयुजां स्वस्वादकृत्यं विबोधयिष्यापि वा या मां भजन् दुर्जरये शृङ्खलाः संवृश् संवृश्चय तद्वा प्रतियाति साधुना. I am not able to repay my debt for your spotless service, even within the lifetime of Brahma. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties, which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. This is how Krishna is indebted to the highest level of devotees who are in the highest level of samadhi. Na parayam nirvadya samyujam saswadu krityam vibhuda yushyapi va ya mabhajam durjara ge shrankalaha samvrishchaya tadva pratiyatu sadhuna. 6.17 is a very nice shloka. Just by controlling our habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and working, we can get into the highest level of samadhi by engaging in participation in Krishna's pastimes. And let us go to the next shloka 6.18. यदा विनीतं चित्तम् आत्मनि एव अवतिष्ठते निष्प्रह सर्वकामेभ्यो युक्त इति उच्यते तदा. When the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activity, and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, is to be well established in yoga. The point is that the flame does not flicker when there is no, uh, yeah, yeah. The point here is the chittam, the mind. Mind is not disturbed, just like we'll see this in the next shloka. The mind is like a lamp which is not disturbed when there are no other thoughts. Just like a lamp is not, a lamp burns beautifully when there is no flickering wind. So, chittam is the mind and its activities. It can also mean consciousness. Basically, chittam is referring to the subtle body, and yukta here is referring to well situated in yoga. In the previous verse, Srila Prabhupada translated yukta as regulated. We also know that word yukta is connected with word yoga. Yoga also means connected. Based on this understanding, we can connect the 6.17 and 6.18. Then we get the following. When we regulate our eating, sleeping, let us have the shloka number. Srila Prabhupada uses yukta as a regulator. In 6.18, he uses when somebody is situated, well situated. Yukta means well situated. When we combine 6.17 and 6.18, we get the following. We get the following understanding. When we regulate our eating, sleeping, mating, and defecting, we remain connected. Thus, the connotation is that if one stays connected with the absolute truth while doing the basic activities, one becomes yogo bhavati dukkha. When the yoga is a full-time activity, not a part-time activity, when one becomes when one remains connected with the absolute truth while doing these basic activities of existence, then we get mitigated from all material pains. Therefore, in terms of bhakti yoga, this means when we dovetail all our activities for the satisfaction of Krishna, we remain connected with Krishna and hence remain pure. So, this is the main thing. We need to dovetail our activities for satisfaction of Krishna. Now, in 6.18, the focus is also on consciousness, chittam. Chittam is referring to consciousness. When our consciousness is fixed on Krishna, then we are properly situated in yoga. When we combine 6.17 and 18, it means that we are engaged in activities involving senses with the purpose of satisfying Krishna, not for satisfying our own senses, uh, or we engage in activities of Krishna without arising sensual desires. If we see 6.17, 6.17 talks about activities. Eating, sleeping, recreation, work are all activities. And when we see 6.18, it is practice of disciplines is mental activities. Situated, it is more a condition, a state of mind. Um, Therefore, if it is about 6.1, it is about fixing the consciousness when we are doing the activities. Activities is one side. We also have to fix the consciousness. When we eat, we eat, and when we eat, we need not have to become agitated by sense of taste. Rather, we think of mercy of Krishna, which has appeared, mercy of Krishna, that this mercy has appeared in the form of eatables. This way, we detach from sense gratification and attach to Krishna. This way, we are not uh, disturbed by our desire to gratify our senses. This is nispraha sarva kamebhyo. Nispraha means devoid of desire. Sarva, from all kinds of kamebhya. We do activities, that is what is told in 6.17, but fixing our consciousness on Krishna and devoid of desire for our own sense gratification. And in Srila Prabhupada, in this purport, is quoting one interesting verse. Savai mana Krishna padara vindayo vachamsi vaikunta gunanu varnane karo arera mandira marjanadishu shrutim chakara achyuta sat katodaye mukunda lingale darshane drishau tadbritya gatra sparshe anga sangamam गृहाणां च तत्पादसरोजसौरभे श्रीवत्तुलस्य रसनां तद् अर्पिते पादौ अरे क्षेत्रपादास्म अनुसर्पणे शिरो ऋषिकेश पद अभिविन्दने पदा अभिविन्दने कामां च दाशे न तु कामकाम्यया यतोत्तम श्लोक जनाश्रय रतिः. The same sloka Srila Prabhupada is also quoting in shloka number 2.61. 2.61 says, Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matpara vase yashendriyani tasya pragna pratishtita. One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me, is known to be a man of steady intelligence. These verses, you can see that Srila Prabhupada is quoting this. These verses are taken from King Ambarish Maharaj fixing his mind on lotus feet and engaging his bodily activities for serving Krishna. Therefore, we need to fix the mind, fix the consciousness, fix the mind on lotus feet of Krishna. Then we engage in activity. That way, we ensure that our senses are engaged in serving Krishna without any personal desire. Now, let us go to shloka number 6.18. That is an interesting point which Srila Prabhupada makes here. Every point in Srila Prabhupada's purport is interesting. This point is very interesting. This transcendental stage may be inexpressible subjectively by the followers of impersonalist path, but it becomes very easy and practical for a person in Krishna consciousness, as is apparent in above description of engagements of Maharaj Ambarisha. And the words, when we are actually in case of impersonalist, when they say inexpressible subjectively, this word is very significant. When we ask impersonalist, about the pleasure of Brahman realization. The idea, they do not have any idea. They say we need to ultimately silence all our emotions. Ultimate existence is devoid of any positive activity or relationships. So there is no emotion, there is no positive activity, there is no positive relationship. Then if we ask them, where is the happiness? Impersonalists say that this happiness is inexpressible subjectively. And there is a Sanskrit word for this, that is anirvachaniya. It is indescribable, it is inexpressible, or it is undefinable. The reality, it is unexperienceable. This happiness of impersonalization is very minute compared to the realization of supreme personality of Godhead. This is because it is very difficult to free oneself from matter without attachment to Krishna. Only when we attach ourselves to Krishna, it is easy to give up matter. So giving up matter otherwise is a arduous process. It does not lead to satisfactory result at all. For a devotee practicing Krishna consciousness, it is very easy and practical. There is nothing like sitting and thinking something abstract. For an impersonal, in Krishna consciousness, there is nothing sitting and thinking something abstract. For impersonalists, the only thing to think is nothing to think. For them, everything is an illusion. Thoughts are illusion for them. Thus, impersonalist theory boils down to the point that there is nothing to talk, there is nothing to think, there is nothing to act. Usually, impersonalists have a word Ananda attached to their name. For example, Chinmayananda, Vivekananda, Shukabodhananda. And we find that other than Ananda in their name, they do not have Ananda anywhere. Thus, Ananda starts and ends in their name. This is the most unfortunate predicament. Impersonal experience is the most unfortunate predicament. There is happiness in Brahmananda compared to heavenly happiness. So when you come from heavenly happiness to Brahman realization, there is happiness. However, this is insignificant compared to the happiness derived from devotional service. However, it is very difficult to convince a impersonalist. Srila Prabhupada has put a very interesting point here. The senses and mind require engagements. Simple abnegation is not practical. Therefore, for people in general, especially those who are not in renounced order of life, transcendental engagement of senses and mind, as described above, is the perfect process for transcendental achievement, which is called as yukta in Bhagavad Gita. This yukta, uh, this yukta has two aspects, namely regulation and engagement. Regulation in terms of connecting to the worldly activities. So here we say no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication. And then engaging in activities connecting us to Krishna, which is chanting the holy names, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, reading Bhagavad Gita, getting up early in the morning, attend Mangalarti, have only prasadam. This way of regulation and engagement ensures that we do not fall down into the material desires. This Krishna elaborates in the next verse, which is verse number 6.19. So we will stop here. Thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuvayevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. ग्रंथराज भगवद गीता की जय। जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल। हरि 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 हरे कृष्णा।